Today we're talking about the Lunar New Year and the new moon and what this has in store for you. Hi everyone, I'm Donna, your practical astrologer, here to talk to you about the new moon and also the fact that this new moon is the beginning of the Lunar New Year, which is going to be Metal Ox. Now, every year I write a book on Chinese astrology and give predictions and feng shui cures, and so there's a link to the book in the description box below. And so I hope you check that out. But primarily, of course, I'm a Western astrologer, and so we're going to talk about how this new moon affects you as from a Western astrology standpoint. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button and like this video if you like videos like this, because that tells me that I should make more of them. I have so many new videos planned. I even have some that I'm in the process of editing, but this of course is my busy time of the year, and so I haven't quite gotten to it. For those of you who are interested, I have a lot of speaking engagements coming up, a few radio shows and things like that. So if you're interested, just let me know. So if you like making resolutions, this is a really fortunate time for you. I've always been a person who makes resolutions. And so when we think about January 1st, what we're doing is we're making a change or attempting to make a change during the time of Capricorn. And Capricorn is very much about sticking with the old and being traditional and all of that. So then along comes the Lunar New Year, which always falls on the Aquarius new moon. And Aquarius is about doing something new. So whatever resolutions that I haven't been able to keep from January 1st, which is usually most of them, then I reset and try again at the time of the Lunar New Year. And so this is one of the things to think about during this new moon, because it can give you this energy of something new. There are so many people in this world who celebrate the Lunar New Year, and so there's a lot of psychic and spiritual energy behind this date. Now, as always, we're going to look at the Western astrology chart, and then I will go through sign by sign to do some general predictions and then zero in on what's happening financially for you. So starting off with this chart, what we see is that amazing conjunction between Jupiter and Venus. Now, normally, I mean, if we look at this from a very traditional standpoint, we might say, wow, that is so good. But this is almost too much of a good thing. I mean, this isn't a slice of cake. This is like you are eating your way through a bakery. This is kind of the abundance and almost to the point of idleness or overindulgence. And so there's going to be this energy over the course of the 2 weeks for this new moon, but also setting the tone for the year of people wanting to go overboard and wanting to do things that maybe they haven't felt like they've gotten to do in a while, and so now they're just doing it a lot. Additionally, of course, Mercury is retrograde. It's retrograde until February 20, and we see it here moving back towards that Venus and Jupiter conjunction. And so there's always the energy of Mercury retrograde, which is pulling us back to doing something we've done before, and this would indicate that it's the more the indulgent things or the things that maybe we considered less healthy at times. Now, again, I don't want to put such a damper on this aspect. It is a wonderful aspect, and so used in moderation, it can be great. It brings luck and joy and all of those things. And here comes Mercury to involve our intellect as well, so that's all great. Now, we also see that Mercury is separating from that trine to the North Node, and this would indicate that there was this energy of like moving forward on goals, and now we're kind of backing away from that. Maybe you can't take the action that you were looking for, or maybe you just feel like, all right, I've set my intention, but I can't do anything at the moment. And so the Mercury retrograde is really to give us an opportunity to go back over something that we've done before, so that we can find any learnings we missed, finish up a project that we didn't finish or get some paperwork done. And you know, back in the day where we weren't so busy, this was a great time because this would be, you know, you're just going along with your day and then you say, oh, you know, I forgot to register my car, or I've been meaning to go see the dentist or something like that. But now we are so overscheduled that when Mercury retrograde comes to tell us, oh, look, you have this thing from the past you haven't finished, and that gets ladled on top of what it is you do already, that's where the overwhelm comes in. Additionally, of course, Mercury, and especially a Mercury in Aquarius, rules all things technology, which means that there can be so many difficulties with phones, laptops, computers, printers, all kinds of things. And so that can really slow a person down. Of course, the big news of this chart is Saturn square Uranus. And, you know, that can make you feel like this is a very difficult time because Saturn is something that you build slowly and methodically, and Uranus is like a couple of sticks of dynamite. So it can feel like things are shaky, that you don't know if suddenly something is going to completely crumble around you. And depending on where it falls in your chart, that could be your relationship or your home life or your job. So, but this aspect also can be read the other direction too, and that is this extraordinary force of Uranus then applied to discipline and persistence and determination. And so that's, you can kind of picture the person who, you know, is climbing a mountain and then pulls up within them that extra little bit of energy so they can scramble up to the top. That's a way that this can be used, and honestly a far better way than looking at what you've built and wanting to tear it down. Now, that all said, the Saturn-Uranus, this isn't so much of a conscious aspect. You know, if we were looking for some sort of deliberate destruction, we're looking at Pluto. But Pluto's actually not involved so much in this chart. This is Uranus, which is a sudden, unexpected event. So this is more like tripping and falling, and that affects your life a great deal. Or writing down the wrong number in your checkbook, like anybody writes those things down anymore, like just doing a math error, or, you know, making that error of setting up an automatic payment, but you set, instead of the minimum payment, you set the whole balance of payment for the payments, and then boom, all your money's gone out of your checking account or something like that. So it is something that can happen accidentally that shows you the cracks or weaknesses in your structure. But like I said, this aspect can be used for those bursts of energy and determination. And so you might be, you know, like tired from the end of the day and all that, but you're trying to get out your videos, or, you know, you're trying to build a business or something like that. And so that's where you say, you know what, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. And of course that 5 minutes then expands into an hour or two of really quality work. You know, I went back in time and I looked at the Saturn square Uranus over history, and it's not as catastrophic as it really sounds. It's something that happens often enough. Maybe, I didn't do all the math, but it's probably every 7 to 9 years that this happens. And I just said that, and that's actually not correct. It would be every 7 to 9 years, we would either get the square, the conjunction, or the opposition. So maybe this would be more like every 14 to 16 years, we are having some sort of event like this, but it's often enough that this is just a personal opportunity to put a lot of focus and energy, especially into things you're building and things involving technology. Okay, so let's go around the wheel and find out what's going on for each sign. So for Aries natives, you guys are doing a ton of energy in the areas of community, friendships, and money derived from career, which we'll talk about in a second. So the big focus for you right now is how can you expand your tribe? And of course, in this time of social distancing, we have to do these things through technology. And doing this, of course, during Mercury retrograde is not that easy, but any effort that you can do in this area is a good idea. You're doing really excellent energy for relationships right now, so make sure that if you're looking for love, that you're putting yourself out there or you're communicating with people you're interested in. I think the most interesting thing is while there's nothing going through your fourth house right now, your fourth house is always ruled by that moon, and that moon is changeable. And so always looking at how you can change up your home life in some way. And maybe that is, being on the road to decluttering, towards minimalism, or maybe you are acquiring more properties, or perhaps you are thinking someday of moving to a foreign country. So anything where you're just constantly taking steps for something different, something that is a bigger dream of yours. Bigger dream, even if it's a tiny house. So when we are looking at your finances, you of course have Uranus going through your second house, which is going to last for years. And I'm going to keep telling you, you have to change your relationship with money, how you see money, how you handle money, and keep changing it. So maybe that is that you try the envelope cash system for a while, but then you say, okay, I've done that for a few months, let me do something different. And then maybe you're tracking your money through an app for personal finance or something like that. So if you start one of these different systems and then you give it up, that's actually more in line with this energy. So don't berate yourself for doing that. Just move on to the next system. And you may at times, especially during Mercury retrograde, go back to a system you've used before. Now, Mars is also going through your second house, which means that you are spending a lot of time focused on how you can make more money, or, how you can attract money. Mars is in Taurus, and so what you wish for, you can start to manifest. Now, of course, I've tried. It doesn't work to just visualize $1 million, but you can visualize opportunities for yourself, because the universe always likes to combine a gift with a lesson. And so if you're willing to do the lesson, then the universe will reward you. When we look at your investments and passive income sources, you're not doing an aspect between Venus and Pluto, but you are doing an aspect between Venus and the co-ruler Mars. And so that does indicate that it's probable that you will be accumulating money in this area this time. So you might be taking some profits, or your business is doing better. But the big news, of course, is you've got a gigantic full house in your house of money derived from career. Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Sun, and Moon. So it's more than half of the chart. And so that is that this is the time to ask for a raise, or to look for a new job, or to do things to expand your ability to make money. Now, the moon is making a square to Uranus, and so we also show the ability to accumulate money. So that could be a signing bonus or some other sort of windfall, but it's going to be something related to your job. So for Taurus natives, you guys are doing the big emphasis in your house of career. So there is a great deal of focus on, if you're doing the right job, if you'd like to do a different job, moving up in the company, or getting a different job entirely. So you might even be thinking about changing careers. So all of this stuff, it may not happen over the 2 weeks, but this is a time to plant those seeds, or at least make the decision. When with Taurus energy, there is this idea that once you've pointed yourself in a direction, you are going to manifest what it is. It just takes a while. But in my experience, the difficulty that Taurus natives have is you have trouble deciding what it is that you want. And because of that, the universe is kind of like, should we give you this? Should we not? And so it would be better for you to just say, you know what, I want a new job. And then as that job comes up, as you get the offer, then you can decide whether you want to take it. You have an excellent chart for relationships this time because even though the Venus is not making aspect with Pluto, it is making that square to Mars, and the Mars is in the first house for more confidence. The Venus is elevated, which indicates that you're easily seen. So this is a great time to be looking for a love relationship, friendships, connections of all kinds, really. It also can mean that you are doing pretty well in your existing relationship, although that this Mars square Venus can be a little contentious at times. I mean, it's good for whoopee, but it's also can make you fight. So be a little careful about how enthusiastically you defend your position. Your home life is interesting this time because everything is so elevated in your chart. It's almost like the home is just going on without you participating so much. Maybe it is that you're too busy, or even if you're working at home, you don't seem to be maybe as involved because there's so much catching your attention out in the world. Now you're pulling money from that Mercury retrograde, which means that you are better off going back to things you've done before or focusing on finishing up some projects you've already started. So there is this connection to the 10th house, which does say that your career could bring in some money, but there is really this energy that it is hard to move forward on things and new projects and things like that. It is better to finish up the old stuff, and when that's done and put to bed, and at that point, hopefully Mercury is direct, then you can move forward. Now, the good news for your passive income sources, which is your business income or your investments, is that Mercury is heading back to conjunct Jupiter, which means that this could be a very lucrative period for you where you see increased profits and other opportunities for the taking. When we look at your money derived from career, you are doing a lot of Pisces / Neptune energy. Now you're doing the semi-sextile, which does mean that there is a possibility to make more, but this is separating because Mercury is retrograde. So you might not feel it very strongly. That means I think you'll make slightly more than you've made in the past, but it's pretty much the same. Like maybe you're working a few more hours, or maybe you get like I don't know, you win a $10 prize or something. It's really pretty small. So for Gemini natives, you guys are doing all of this focus in your area of education, foreign things, travel, legal matters, your philosophy, your religion, all of that. So you might be thinking about finishing up school, maybe going back to school. You might be looking at traveling somewhere when that opens up, or maybe you're really just itching to travel and you're just pacing the floor right now trying to get out of the house. This does show some luck when it comes to legal matters, so if you're doing contracts or things like that, you have ability to negotiate for what you want, which is great. This is really a great chart for relationships for you, and that's relationships of all kinds, love relationships, friendships, professional connections. Because the Mercury moving backwards is going to hit the Jupiter, you could meet somebody where you actually feel like you've met before, so that could be something as big as like a past life, but it also could be that you had an acquaintance with that person before, but two ships passing in the night, you hadn't really made a connection, and now you come together and it's like you see each other with new eyes, and now the connection happens. From an astrological standpoint, that is a connection through secondary or solar arc progressions. And, while that can be temporary, just lasting a few years, if you have enough connections in your natal chart to build on, you can sustain the relationship very happily for much, much longer. But there needs to be that basis in the natal chart connections to do that. If you're ever interested in talking to me about synastry and how you connect with another person's chart, I do offer readings and private lessons in astrology. So check out the links below in the description box for more information. So when it comes to your home life, you are ruled by that Mercury going retrograde. And of course, Mercury rules your whole chart. And so you can be very affected by Mercury retrograde, but also because it rules you, you're more like it's a big wave which hits people, but you are surfing it. And so occasionally you can get wiped out by the wave, but most of the time you just pop up, get back on your board, and you're surfing away. So that's similar to what's going on now. You might be looking at your lease coming up due, or you're looking at the property values and thinking everything's going up and maybe this is a good time to sell. So you are re-looking at different situations when it comes to your house. Now, of course, with Mercury retrograde, which can foul up all kinds of paperwork, you don't want to actually implement any of these ideas yet. You want to have the idea and do the implementation after the 20th. So if at all possible, don't sign a lease during this time. Don't put your house up for sale. And certainly if it is already up for sale, don't lower the price during Mercury retrograde, or you will do it twice. Now, of course, I'm giving this as a blanket rule. If it's not possible to wait, then by all means, go forward and do this. Just recognize that on a future retrograde, you're bound to repeat this behavior. So when we look at your finances, you are pulling money from that moon in the 9th house, which is making this tiny little semi-sextile to Pluto. And so right now there's actually more irritation going on. You're feeling perhaps maybe that you're irritated that money is coming in slowly, or with all that stuff in the 9th house, maybe that you're having to pay a lot of fees or other sort of, application costs, or, like every little thing is nickeling and diming you. So right now, it's kind of stressful in your area of money. We also see this, that the moon is not making an aspect to Saturn, and so we don't see accumulation in money from investments or passive income sources. When I say that, that just means that you're not taking profits, or that you are pretty much status quo, that you're not getting the big windfalls. And so this is, I feel like with your money, it always fluctuates somewhat because it's ruled by the moon. But this is also a special time where you might be putting your profits into video courses to help you expand, or you are just, plowing money back into your investments or diversifying or something like that. And those are good things. But that the bottom line is that you won't be gaining lots of extra profits this month. Now, when it comes to your money derived from career, the moon is making a square to Mars, but Mars is in your 12th house. And so we do see that there is increased money, but perhaps it's not so visible to you. Now, that can mean that it is in a form where you can't access it right away, and that could be like a gift of company stock, but it's not vested yet, or maybe it's in a form that's not actually cash, and so that can be, somebody gives you some Bitcoin, or it's, they give you company product or something like that, and so it's still an increase, but it's not maybe as translatable into cash. The one way to use that is, because the Mars is in the 12th house, is if you're getting a raise or a bonus, immediately stick it into your savings account and hide it from you. And that way it's actually doing something in line with that Mars in the 12th house. But overall, this is very favorable for your money derived from career. So that could mean you got a new job and it pays more, that you getting better commissions, or that you just making more per hour. So Cancer natives, you guys are doing this big pack of planets in your house of investments, resources. It's also intimacy and, the truth and, power. It's many different things. In these videos, I focus a lot on personal finance, but this house is certainly one that has many more aspects to it, such as, bringing you lots of sexual encounters or getting people to confess the truth around you. So, but because you have so many planets there, there's a great deal of focus that you are having now on investing. And so maybe recent events have gotten you interested in investing. You are pulling money directly from that house, or perhaps you're starting a business, or that your business is starting to take off. It is also things like a family business or a business done with the spouse. It is about family legacy. So, that some relative has gifted you money. So there's all of this focus right now on your finance. Well, now that all said, the sun is not making an aspect with Uranus. So we're not actually seeing accumulation yet. So if you're doing the stock market, this is definitely a buy and hold situation versus, trying to sell and make a profit. It may be the promise of some, money coming to you in the future. So there's a great deal of focus on the money, but actually having the profits in your hand are taking place after this period. And of course, this period's about 2 weeks. And that big 8th house kind of distracted me there. I forgot to talk about your relationships, so let's jump a little back to that. In your house of relationships, I should say the energy around your house of relationships is that moon not making an aspect to Saturn, and so their relationships are, you have this really interesting aspect, which is the relationships look difficult. The intimacy and sexual relationships look great. And so, perhaps that's one night stands or something like that. Perhaps that is that you're only getting along behind closed doors, and then public you're arguing or you're not seeing each other. Or maybe you're just so busy that you just come together for the evenings and you don't see each other the rest of the time. Now, home life is connected to that Venus, which is conjunct the Jupiter, and Mercury's on its way back. And being in the 8th house, that could be that you are refinancing your home, or you're looking for a house, or maybe you are doing renovations, or you are buying furniture or things like that. Remember that Venus-Jupiter can go way overboard. And so you might be thinking, at first that you're going to spruce up the kitchen a bit, and then 2 weeks in and you're looking at, marble countertops and gold-plated faucets and things like that. So you want to kind of reel that energy in so that you don't regret it later. And so now I've totally confused myself. We did talk about your investment income, so let's talk about your money derived from career. And you have Uranus and Mars going through that, which does say that there are some changes going on in your career in the area of compensation. But the Mars in Taurus does make me feel that you have the ability to grab some opportunities that would bring you money. This could be more hours or a better territory, or maybe you just hit a level where you're getting a better commission structure. And while you have a lot of energy there, you don't have an aspect between the Sun and Venus, and so therefore you're not accumulating it quite yet. So, but the Mars in Taurus is quite tenacious, so I think that you'll see the opportunity, you'll grab hold of the opportunity, and you won't let it go until it's secured. It just may not be in your hands while Mercury is retrograde and while this chart is in effect. So Leo natives, you guys are doing this clump of planets in your house of relationships, and this is relationships of all kinds: love relationships, friendships, acquaintances, mentors, teachers. All the people who come into your life are now part of this group of planets. And so this is really a time for you to be connecting. And yes, I know it's not a great time to be out and being social. So you have to find more electronic means to connect with people. And because Mercury is retrograde in this house, also go back to people where you've had an acquaintance before, and maybe you haven't seen them in a while. Maybe you went to school with them, or there was some past connection, and you can revive that connection. Now, while this brings you lots and lots of choices when it comes to people, fully establishing the relationship will happen later because we don't have an aspect between Sun and Uranus. So this is more about putting yourself out there, saying, you know, here I am, and then seeing what they do. And their response may come after Mercury goes direct or after we hit the full moon in a couple of weeks, because there's just not the connection happening yet. So when I look at your area of home, you're quite busy. You're being pulled into work houses, which is the Pluto in the 6th, and then that Mars in the 10th. So even if you're at home, you're just thinking about work. You're not really engaging so much with the family. And so it's really important to be looking at your work environment and seeing if it's conducive to you getting your work done fast. Is it just filled with distractions and so your work is taking much longer? Or is it that you are actually leaving the home to go work and you're doing so much outside of the home that you're not home very much? So this is all stuff that's going to remedy pretty quick, because once Mars gets out of Taurus, then that energy is going to shift for you. When we look at your money, you are pulling money from that 7th house, that Mercury retrograde. So that is going back to customers or clients you had before and just checking in on them, seeing if they want to refer you or something like that. The more people you meet, the more money you're going to make. You can find mentors and teachers right now, people to help you, do more. You could find people to collaborate with, or influencers who could put the word out about what you do. So this also is the same, like if you are looking for a new job, go to past colleagues or past supervisors and see what they're up to, connect to them on LinkedIn and things like that. When we look at your investment income, you're doing a semi-sextile between Mercury and Neptune. And so that's a little on the wimpy side, but it's still an aspect. And so there's going to be some profits. With that Neptune, there's still that confusion about, is this a good time to sell? Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. So with that, you may be feeling like, like back and forth and on the fence. Now, Jupiter is the co-ruler of your 8th house, and so Mercury is moving back into that Jupiter. So I think that over this period of the retrograde, you are going to figure out what your plan is. But at the moment, you might still feel everything's a little fuzzy. When it comes to money derived from career, things are not as strong as usual because the ruler is retrograde, and so this does mean that you might be told that a raise is delayed, or your bonus isn't ready yet, or some other, like we were going to give you more hours, but now we can't. So somebody's going back on a promise, and so you might find that you're kind of, feeling anxious to move forward, but you can't because Mercury's retrograde. So the best thing to do is just to go out, make more contacts, connect with more people, and keep busy. So Virgo natives, you are doing this gigantic conglomeration of planets in your house of work and routines, habits, schedules and things like that. And so you just might be super, super busy, and so busy that you find it difficult to automate or streamline some of your operations. But if you could, that would be ideal. Or finding somebody to help you out where that assistant doesn't take up all your time explaining to them what you want them to do. So finding really good help. But during this process, you may have to hire and fire. You might have to give somebody an ultimatum or things like that. This can be a little challenging because that's not necessarily something you like to do. So this also could be that you are outsourcing some of the things that you do, and by going to several different companies and trying them out, so maybe, having 2 different companies design your logo, or 2 different companies edit your videos, and see what, who's better and what works better for you. When it comes to your relationships, you're doing the semi-sextile between Mercury and Neptune, and so the energy is not that strong. Plus, you're so busy, don't know if you're going to have time for relationships. But it does mean that there's somebody there waiting in the background for when you do have time. So if you're looking for love, you might go out and connect with somebody very briefly, and then find you can't keep a date for a couple of weeks. So that could be fine, or it could be awkward. But mostly, just recognize this is temporary energy, and it's going to be better in a couple weeks. When it comes to your home life, you are also very, very busy. That's just the theme for you right now. And so you might be doing some renovation projects or things like that. Things can go wrong during Mercury retrograde, but also these renovation projects would be ruled by Jupiter, which is conjunct the Venus, which I already said could be this wildly over-the-top, indulgent sort of energy. And so, this is not a great time to be going out and buying new furniture, because you're going to buy this, extreme stuff that maybe doesn't even go with the rest of your house or your lifestyle even. So you just want to be a little careful with that. Now, that said, if you do get the wrong thing, this energy is great for getting a refund or getting something done over. Things can come in your favor that way. Mostly, though, it looks like you're working, and if you could pull the family together to work together, like you have a let's all do the laundry together sort of day, then you can use this energy very successfully. When it comes to your passive income sources or business income, you're doing very well because you're doing that square between Venus and Mars, and so you are not leaving a dollar on the table. You are going after every single job, and this means that you're saying yes to overtime, yes to the side gig, yes to the new clients. You're just, whatever the money is, you're going for it. This also means that you have the opportunity to find the point to take some profits, and you can be quite successful when it comes to a family business or something you're doing with your spouse. Now, when we look at money derived from career, all of the extra work you're putting in is not really helping because we don't have an aspect between Moon and Venus. So it's likely that all of this extra pay or all of that is coming outside of this 2-week period. And that makes sense. Maybe they're holding back a check or something, but it also could be that you are not getting paid for some reason. And so you may have to go after people, possibly after Mercury goes direct. Now, also, this is if you are looking for a new job, you need to do those salary negotiations, and you may not enjoy doing that sort of thing, but that's going to be important. Otherwise, you may not end up making much more than you're making now. So when we look at Libra natives, you guys are doing all of these planets in your area of fun, joy, romance, and risk-taking, and so you might be doing more speculation than usual. That could mean that you are doing a lot of work on spec, or you're doing a creative business, or you're wanting to really break out and do something new, but you also so much want to have fun, and so you're starting this clump of planets on Saturn, and so you don't think you have the time, or circumstances in the world aren't really lending itself to having fun, and so there's things that are blocking you, and this can cause you to be going into some overindulgent behavior, because then you hit the Jupiter and then the Venus and then the Mercury, and so there's all of this energy of like saying, I'm feeling blocked, and so I'm going to buy a lot of things, or I'm going to eat all the ice cream there ever was, or something like that. So you want to watch out for that. Now, this is great for love and romance, especially if you want a more physical type of relationship. And especially if you are dating somebody who is outside of your norm, maybe they're a different faith, or a different, from a different country, or something is different about this relationship. And so that tantalizing sort of energy with all that Aquarius going on in your 5th house is really good for relationships. Additionally, of course, you have Venus making a square to Mars, and so that's kind of like two magnets just suddenly coming together. And so, if you have an opportunity to meet somebody new or go on a first date, definitely take it. Even allow somebody to fix you up on a date, because you never know what could happen. So home life is okay, but you seem like you're kind of pacing the walls a little bit, and there is a strong desire to get out and do things. And so if you are really stuck at home, like most of us are, you might be turning to some creative outlets. I think that would be good. Again, this is not necessarily so much work related, but just doing something for the fun of it, like puzzles or painting or playing music or something like that. Also, doing things that are fairly close to home is also good, walking through your neighborhood or, visiting a park that is close by that you haven't been to before. Now, you are pulling money from your 4th house and your 8th house, which means that you are either working at home or you're doing something involved in real estate, renting in a room or selling houses, and that Mars in your house of business income, passive income sources, things like affiliate marketing, royalties, residuals, and things like that. All of those are just funneling money to you. And even though the Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto, it is making an aspect with that co-ruler Mars. And so you do have the opportunity to bring in more money than usual. And this is probably going to be from a business or side business situation. You could also check in with family members and see if there's somebody there who wants to do a business with you. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you do have an aspect, a semi-sextile between the Sun and Pluto. It's not a strong aspect, but it does say that it's possible to get a little uptick in your income. And again, it's not going to be huge, and it even could be temporary. So maybe you are getting a little bit of a bonus or, some extra money because of some additional hours, but it doesn't look so much long term. That also could mean that there is some sort of signing bonus when you start a new job, but then you end up making about the same that you were making before. Of course, this energy will shift, and so if you can wait to sign an employment contract until after 20th, that would be great. Scorpio natives, you guys are doing a ton of energy in your 4th house. That's right at the base of your chart. And of course, that is about home and family. And so you might be very focused on, the people at home, maybe somebody's moving back in, maybe somebody's moving out, maybe you're selling your house. But this also is about your ancestral line. And so you might be doing your family tree or thinking about how your great-great-grandfather had talents of making money. And so you, of course, by default would have that too. So there's a lot of connection right now on family and roots. And then also, what is the foundation from which you are doing everything? And that is, what are the basic principles from which you operate? Do you see the universe as a benefic place where, that no matter what, there's going to be some good that comes out of it? Or do you see the world as being a harsh place where you're having to fight for every morsel? That can really affect and put blinders on you to what you can see in the way of opportunity. So looking at that foundation, like what were you taught about finances or even relationships or anything else when you were young, how is that affecting your decisions now? When it comes to love relationships, you have really good energy because Venus is making a square to Mars, and we have Mars in the 7th house of relationships. So there is a lot of positive energy. There is a connection at home. So maybe you and your sweetheart are thinking about buying a house together or living together. Maybe you are introducing this person to your friends and family. So this is also all types of relationships. So you can really meet some very interesting and influential people during this time, especially if you are just randomly connecting with people to activate that Uranus. So that would be like you just randomly direct message somebody. I mean, someone you admire, and not with a throwaway message, but with something genuine. But as you do that, you could make the connection where they just happen to be on at that time and they like what you say, and a conversation begins. We already talked a lot about your home life, and so your home life is ruled both by that Saturn and Uranus. And so again, there's a lot of energy around home that seems a little on the more random side, like you meet somebody who says, I really love your house, and then you say, well, I was thinking about selling it, so I'll sell it to you. Or you meet somebody who says, oh, I need a place to live, and you like them, and so they become a roommate or something like that. So there is this sort of serendipity serendipity or chance energy this time. So you are pulling money from that Jupiter in your 4th house, so your home-based business or real estate, as I was saying. But also, this takes me back to what I was saying about what are the foundations that you were raised on. What were the ideals that your parents had about money? And if those are not helpful to you now, how can you look to see how much they're affecting you now and what you could put in their place? This might be something that you do with NLP or hypnosis or something like that, where you're getting into your subconscious and unprogramming yourself to have something more positive. When it comes to your money from passive income sources, your own business or the family business, you're doing a great aspect because Mercury retrograde is going back to hit that Jupiter. And so there is a potential for a pretty big windfall. That means that you need to look for where the big sale is, how are your investments doing? Is there something where you need to take profits? And, all of this is predicated on the idea that you have planted the seeds in the first place. Is there some way that money could come to you? If you're just starting out, the results, even for a windfall, are going to be small because the seeds are small. But as you put more and more things out into the world with your business, then you have more opportunities of having something that is really life-changing. When it comes to your money derived from career, you have a similar energy, though the Mercury retrograde can delay things a little bit, so keep that in mind. But it does show that it's possible to be making more money this period, that maybe you have a new job and it's bringing you more per hour, maybe you are working more hours, and so you might get a big commission check, but this is something that you possibly earned a while ago and now it's finally showing up. It is also possible that it doesn't quite show up until after the 20th when Mercury goes direct. So Sagittarius natives, you guys are doing this clump of planets in your 3rd house of communication, siblings, neighbors, contracts, compulsory education. I think I said education already. Short distance travel, your vehicle, all of these different things that are involved mostly in communication. And so this is a very important time where you are looking at how you communicate with others, the devices that you use, the methods that you use, and how you're talking to yourself. This clump of planets starts with Saturn, which is not the most supportive or optimistic of planets. And then it goes into things that are much better. So this is maybe where you are noticing that you are speaking negatively to yourself and you need to change that. You might feel that you need to be supportive of everybody else but yourself, and that is actually not true. If you are supportive of yourself as well, you can make great strides in your life. So this is a time, especially with Mercury retrograde, where you can look back at what you've done over the past few months and see if it needs to be changed. When we look at your love relationships, you have wonderful energy because you have so much going on in the house of communication, and Mercury is moving its way back to Jupiter. So you might be reconnecting with somebody that you started dating before, and then for some reason the two of you parted and now you're coming back together. It's possible that an old love relationship is trying to come back in, and then you want to judge and see if they've grown, if you've grown, have you grown in the same direction, or those sort of things. So I'm not going to say that that's an automatic yes by any means. Really weigh those options before you jump back into something from before. But that's the kind of thing that Mercury retrograde does bring. It brings somebody from the past and gives you that opportunity to try again. When it comes to your home life, it is more about your extended family or the community around you rather than in the house itself. Maybe you live in an area like I do where it's already sunny and warm, and so there's already a tendency to go outside. It's so funny because I did live back east in the snow for a few years, and I remember distinctly in February going over to the Home Depot and say, hey, where are the seeds? I want to start planting, because I'm a California girl. And they told me to come back in May. So I think that what you're doing here is there's a lot of short distance travel going on. So maybe you're getting in the car and doing some trips, maybe going to local parks, maybe seeing just the extended family members, like the siblings who live in the same city, or your parents who live down the street, or something like that. So everything's still pretty close to home, but you're doing less things in the home itself, it seems. When it comes to your investments and passive income sources, there is a big push about information, gathering information, maybe learning, taking a course or something like that. But there's not a lot of profit taking going on because we don't have an aspect between the moon and Saturn. And so this says that it is a time where you are learning what you're doing, or you're making a marketing push, or maybe you're building your website or doing your video course, but they're not actually bringing you profits yet. So, and that doesn't mean that you're going the wrong direction. It means actually to keep going if you are studying. But if you are just waiting by the door, like where are the clients, or why isn't my stock going up, or things like that, this is not the time for that. When it comes to money derived from career, we do have a bit of an aspect. We have a wide conjunction. So I do like a conjunction. That's great. I wish it wasn't quite as wide. So this is, to me, feels like you're going in and telling the boss that you want the raise, or you want the position with more responsibility, and they say, yes, in a while you're going to get it. So it is possible that over the next 2 weeks you will hear about something, and that it will become a little bit more concrete. It may actually happen before the full moon, but it is also, there's a lot of energy here that says that you're getting more of a promise rather than it written on paper, that you're getting the handshake deal rather than the contract. So, and that's, all that said, I still think that there's a strong chance of something happening, because when we look at that Venus and the Saturn, even though they're wide, they're reaching out to that Uranus, because they're both in Aquarius, and the Uranus is in Taurus. So you see, we're kind of in a mutual reception energy, and I've been looking at more mutual receptions as bringing in things a little bit more quickly, because even though it doesn't seem so direct, it seems to manifest anyway. So, if you find that, you get the contract, you get the deal rather quickly, leave me a comment in the comment section below so that I can start to add that to my research. So Capricorn natives, you guys are doing an amazing second house. Second house, of course, being your house of money. You have Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and Sun. Not quite in that order, but yes, all of those planets, that is amazing. Now, I did already warn you about that overindulgent Venus conjunct Jupiter, so you do need to be careful about that, especially with Mercury barreling backwards towards those two to give it an extra burst of energy. Yes, you start the house on Saturn, which says you start by saying, okay, I'm going to watch my pennies. I'm going to really focus my money to where it's going to do the most good. And then you hit that Jupiter's like, woohoo, I'm going to Cabo. And, there goes your budget. So you want to be careful, because this can be extraordinary for bringing in money, but it also, like the door is open, so that the money can come in, but the door is open so the money can go out. So you want to reach over and close that door as soon as the money comes in so it doesn't flow out. When it comes to your love relationships, the timing's a little off this time, because there's no aspect between the moon and Saturn. And so it's just not really the big focus for you. And if it is, it's not the big focus for the other person. And so that's what I mean. The timing is just off. It's like you have an opportunity to say, okay, let's have a date, but then they are super busy, and then they become available, and now you're super busy, and so you're going to have trouble connecting. But that's okay, because this energy will shift. When we look at your home and family, we have a lot of emphasis on creativity, fertility, and children. And so it's possible that somebody in the family is going to announce a pregnancy, or maybe they're getting a new pet, something really cute that they can dress up in little outfits. sorry, it could be any type of pet, but it's, but that would be super cute. It's also, though, that you might be doing a lot of creativity at home. That could be painting a room or redecorating, but it also could be that you are just painting pictures or doing some other creative work at home. Home life looks pretty good. It looks like the place that you're going to heal, to have some enjoyment, to, connect with family members. We already talked about how many planets are going through your second house of money. When we look at your money from investment income and business income, while lots of money is coming in, you're not actually showing that you're making, or I should say accumulating, more money than usual, which often means that you're putting the money right back into the business, or that you are expecting money. Perhaps you sell to a company, but they pay you in 90 days or in 60 days or something like that. So you can show in your books that you are owed a ton of money in your accounts receivable, but that money is not quite here yet. And that's what I'm kind of expecting, because this energy will line up pretty quickly. When it comes to your money derived from career, you're in a similar situation. We have this potential to make money, but it hasn't actually reached your hands yet. So this energy feels a little disconnected in some ways. So it is that, like you're going every day to the mailbox and the check's not there, or you're checking your accounts every day and the check's not there. And I would imagine that once Mercury goes direct, boom, everything starts to happen. And at that point, within a week or so, all the money that you were expecting comes in. So I think that it's just this extremely temporary aspect where there is more waiting than actual receiving. So Aquarius natives, every year you do get quite a few planets in Aquarius, but this year has to take the cake with 6 planets in your own sign. So Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Sun, and Moon, that's a lot. And so this is all in your house of confidence. It helps your relationships. It really puts the spotlight on you. Now, with the Jupiter conjunct Venus there, after we get past the Saturn, which is going to be a normal amount of reserve and modesty and all that, that Venus-Jupiter says, hello, here I am. I put the spotlight on me. And there's quite a few different things you can do where that's really beneficial. You might be doing your stand-up routine or something like that. Then we want the spotlight on you. You can also make really interesting connections with mentors or influencers. It's a time where you want to put yourself out there in the biggest way possible. And so, with all the other signs, I'm saying, watch out. You might go into a donut shop and buy up the whole place. But for you, Aquarius native, I really want you to think about what is the biggest connection you can possibly make. If you'll think big right now, you can plant seeds that grow into an entire forest of opportunities, an orchard of opportunities. That would be even better because that would have fruit. So that is like who's your dream people to have at your conference room table, or who's the dream person to have in your life in a romantic sense. This is about really shooting for the moon, because you're not going to have this type of a conglomeration of positive planets again, well, for at least a year and probably much longer. This is also, though, to make sure that you're not at cross purposes. All of these planets are ruled by that Uranus at the base of your chart. And so it says take sudden, unexpected action, but don't take erratic action. I think about it because like where I live, there's a lot of ducks and seagulls, and when you watch them fly, like ducks are all in a nice V line, and seagulls are they're just crashing into each other, and there's near misses all the time. And I feel like if you can have this more arrow-like, we know where we're going, we're planning something out, versus, just throwing a bunch of stuff at a dartboard and seeing if anything sticks. Now, all of that said, the sun is not making an aspect to that Uranus. And so there is still a little bit of a disconnect. So that is, go ahead and direct message those amazing people. And you may not get a direct message back from that person, but then somebody else completely random connects with you. And it's because you set that chain in motion through, just the spirit world, just through the Akashic field. You, by planting a seed over here, get something to grow completely in left field. There's a lot of activity going on at home, especially around your possessions. We have both Uranus in Taurus and Mars in Taurus there. That could be that you're bringing a lot more things into the home, or you're getting rid of a lot of things and trying to create some space. So it is also that there's potentially some money that you're making there, or that you're focused on different ways to make money through real estate. And so maybe renting out a room or buying some rental property, maybe building a granny flat in the backyard. So when it comes to your investment income, you have just a semi-sextile that you're doing, which is still in aspect. So you might be making some money. It's not huge because Mercury is pulling away from Neptune. And so that means that if you're going to be taking some profits, take them sooner rather than later. It also does say to go out and make a push for your business now. That is, if you were going to run a sale or something like that, then you want to do it now rather than waiting. And that's an interesting thing too, by the way, when you own a business and you are affected by Mercury retrograde, when you get a new client, you get two, or you get clients who repeat. So getting new clients during Mercury retrograde is a really good thing. When we look at your money derived from career, again, we have this semi-sextile energy, Jupiter to Neptune. So it's not super strong, but that's okay because everything is very focused on you. So as you put yourself out there, you can make more. Now, I don't feel that this money is coming to you quite yet. I think it will wait until after Mercury goes direct on the 20th. I think that for now, the focus is more just planting those seeds, making the connections, which could mean that you are asking for the raise or asking for more hours, and all this comes through in a couple of weeks. So Pisces natives, you guys are doing this huge conglomeration of planets in your 12th house. And for most people, I would say, oh my goodness, it's a lot buried in your 12th. But for Pisces natives, this is your home house. This is the place that you feel most comfortable because this gives you the ability to connect with people all over the world. You see, Pisces or 12th house is about where there are no boundaries. And now we have 6 planets in there. That means that 6 degrees of separation that is between you and any other person in the world, it's not even 6 degrees anymore. It is just a thought. It is just you spiritually reaching out or psychically reaching out and connecting. And this means that what you do is more likely to go viral, that the algorithm is going to pick it up and many, many people will see it. And so you want to be a little bit careful about what you're sending. Don't be too cavalier with that Jupiter-Venus and just be sending anything, but send things that are uplifting, enlightening, so that when it does come back and reach you, that it's reaching you with something favorable. This would be a great chart for relationships if we could find you. Now, the moon and sun they're just rising, but soon, it feels like they're almost too far to be seen, and all these other planets are very hidden. And so if you want to step out of the shadows, step out of the house, make a contact with somebody, you can have a relationship opportunity, but it is that you have to do the initial contact. You can't wait for them because you are invisible right now. You can't be seen. Now, this can be really good if you want to wait until after Mercury goes direct, which, in general, I recommend anyway. Starting a relationship on Mercury retrograde can be really difficult because, it fouls up the time, it fouls up communication, but also you could end up with somebody who's like a carbon copy of somebody you left before that you didn't quite see, that this person's just like my ex and now I'm stuck again. Wait till after the retrograde, then you can see this more clearly. When it comes to home life, I feel like you're doing a lot of solitude. And so even if you live with a lot of people, and even if you're in a small house, you're kind of in your own world right now. Maybe you're doing some creative work or more meditation or things like that. But it's almost like there is now some sort of separation between you and everybody else, or at least you're trying for that. Maybe people are looking for you and they're wanting you involved, but you need the space right now. So it's important to really trust what you need. And if it is that you need more solitude, if you need to take more long walks by yourself, or you need to, sit in a corner somewhere just to meditate or read a book, then you need to give yourself permission for that. Now, you're pulling money from that Mars in Taurus in your house of communication. So that means, of course, the more you communicate and tell people what you need and what you want, the more you're going to receive. So this also means that money could be coming from a contract or agreement, even a handshake agreement, because you are doing some really good energy here. I think that, if you trust the person, you certainly can trust yourself. And so you know that if this person gives their word, it's likely they're going to follow through on it. Now, when we look at your money coming from your business or passive income sources, you're doing that Venus square Mars. So you're in very good alignment for making more money than usual. Now, with all of these planets in the 12th house, it's possible that this comes in a form that you can't quite use it yet, which means that maybe you are getting some sort of benefit, like for a house or something, but the house sold and now you have to plow that money back into another house, like an exchange. Or that, the money is in your brokerage account, and so you want to keep it there, but it's still making some profits, and that's good. Also, when it comes to business, there could be some delays in billing. That is, that you have sent your customer the invoice, but you're giving them 60 days to pay. And so on your books, you show the profit, but you don't actually have the money in your hands yet. Again, Mercury going direct in a few weeks is going to solve a lot of this problem. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, it is more out of sync because you are working behind the scenes a great deal. You're not noticed by your supervisor. And so unless you say something, you're not going to get the more hours. You're not going to get the better position. You're not going to get the new job. So there's too much where you are just not noticed enough to get the recognition that you need. So right now it is out of sync, and so you could try and make a push now, but I would recommend that you wait until the next cycle, at least until the full moon, before you start pushing on this, and then things, I think, will give way. And again, going back to having a lot of planets in the 12th can be an incredible benefit if you're getting followers or supporters or finding your tribe or things like that. It's wonderful. For making actual cash, it can be a little challenging, but these planets will move out of this house pretty quick. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please check out my books on Amazon. Also, check out the links in the description box below for my readings or getting a free chart or any of those sort of things. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe and just stay tuned because LaRue wants to say hi.